Most men don't realize they're dehydrated, even when they're drinking plenty of water. I'm Dr. Emily Carter, and over the past 15 years in clinical practice, I've seen this pattern repeat itself thousands of times. Men come to me saying they drink 8 glasses of water a day, sometimes more. They follow every guideline they've heard, yet they still feel dry, still feel tired, still feel like something's missing. They tell me their mouth feels parched by afternoon, their skin looks dull, their energy crashes before dinner, and they can't understand why more water doesn't seem to help. This is where most people get it wrong. They think hydration is about volume, about hitting a number. But what I've observed in practice is far more complex than that, and far more concerning for men over 50. See, your body doesn't just need water, it needs water that can actually reach your cells. And after decades of life, that process quietly changes in ways most men never notice, until it's already affecting how they feel every single day. Let me explain what I mean. When you were younger, drinking water was simple. You felt thirsty, you drank, you felt better. The water moved through your system efficiently. It crossed into your cells easily. Your body knew exactly what to do with it. But something shifts as we age, something most doctors don't discuss because it happens so gradually. Your cells begin to lose their electrical charge. I know that sounds technical, but stay with me because this is the key to understanding why you can drink water all day and still feel dehydrated at a cellular level. Every cell in your body is surrounded by a membrane. Think of it like a gate. That gate opens and closes based on electrical signals. When the gate opens, water and nutrients flow in. When it closes, waste flows out. This electrical system runs on minerals: sodium, potassium, magnesium, chloride. These aren't just nutrients, they're the currency your cells use to communicate. They carry the electrical charge that tells your cell membranes when to open and when to close. Here's what happens over time. Your body's ability to maintain this electrical balance starts to decline. Your kidneys don't regulate minerals as precisely as they once did. Your digestive system doesn't absorb them as efficiently. Even your cells themselves become less responsive to the electrical signals they depend on. So you drink water, but it can't get where it needs to go. It sits outside your cells, in your bloodstream, in your tissues, but never quite reaching the places that actually need hydration. This is what I call surface hydration. You're wet on the outside, but dry on the inside. And this creates a cascade of problems that most men dismiss as normal aging. Your blood becomes thicker because it lacks the proper mineral balance to flow smoothly. Your heart has to work harder to pump it. Your blood pressure may start to creep up, not because you're unhealthy, but because your circulatory system is compensating for poor fluid distribution. Your muscles start to feel stiff and heavy because they can't maintain proper hydration at the cellular level. You might notice your recovery after exercise takes longer. Your joints feel tighter. You wake up feeling like you need to stretch everything out. Your brain, which is roughly 70% water, begins to function less efficiently. You might find your focus isn't as sharp as it used to be. Your memory feels a little foggy. You have trouble concentrating for long periods. And here's something that particularly affects men over 50. Your hormonal system starts to struggle. Testosterone production depends heavily on optimal hydration, not just any hydration, but hydration that actually reaches the cells responsible for hormone synthesis. When those cells can't maintain proper fluid balance, hormone production becomes erratic. You might notice your energy levels aren't as stable as they once were. Your drive and motivation feel inconsistent. Your body's ability to build and maintain muscle mass starts to decline more rapidly than it should. Most men interpret these changes as inevitable signs of aging, but what I've observed clinically suggests something different. These aren't necessarily age-related changes. They're dehydration-related changes that become more pronounced with age because your body's hydration mechanisms become less efficient over time. The concerning part is how subtle this process is. You don't wake up one day feeling dramatically dehydrated. It happens gradually, over months and years. Your body compensates remarkably well in the early stages. It shifts water from less critical areas to more critical ones. It adjusts your kidney function to conserve what minerals it can. But this compensation comes at a cost. Your skin starts to look less vibrant because your body is prioritizing water for vital organs over cosmetic concerns. Your joints begin to feel stiffer because synovial fluid production decreases when your body is conserving resources. Your digestion may become less efficient because your body reduces water allocation to digestive processes when other systems are struggling. And through all of this, you're still drinking plenty of water, you're still following conventional hydration advice, but the fundamental problem remains unchanged. The water isn't getting where it needs to go. This is why some men tell me they feel more tired after drinking large amounts of water. Their kidneys are working overtime to process fluid that isn't being utilized effectively. Their cardiovascular system is managing increased fluid volume without getting the cellular benefits that should come with proper hydration. They're essentially flooding their system while their cells remain thirsty. Now, here's what makes this particularly problematic for men approaching or past middle age. Your body's margin for error decreases over time. When you were younger, your systems had excess capacity. Your kidneys could handle imbalances. Your heart could manage inefficient fluid distribution. Your cells could function reasonably well, even with suboptimal electrical charge. But that excess capacity diminishes with age. What once was easily manageable becomes a chronic stress on your system. Your body is constantly working harder to maintain basic functions that used to be effortless. And this extra work shows up in ways you might not connect to hydration. You might find yourself waking up more frequently during the night, not necessarily to urinate, but because your body is struggling to maintain proper fluid balance while you sleep. Your nervous system remains slightly activated because it's monitoring these imbalances. You might notice your hands and feet feel cold more often, even in warm weather. This can happen when poor cellular hydration affects circulation and your body prioritizes blood flow to core organs over extremities. Your appetite regulation might become less reliable. The same mechanisms that control cellular hydration also influence hunger and satiety signals. When these mechanisms are disrupted, you might find yourself eating when you're actually thirsty or feeling hungry shortly after meals. Even your mood and stress tolerance can be affected. Your nervous system relies on precise electrolyte balance to function smoothly. When that balance is chronically disrupted by poor cellular hydration, you might find yourself feeling more irritable, more anxious, or less resilient to daily stressors than you used to be. The frustrating part is that conventional medical tests often don't reveal this problem. Your blood work might show normal hydration markers because the issue isn't with the total amount of water in your system. It's with how that water is distributed and utilized at the cellular level. You might have adequate fluid volume but poor fluid function. This is why so many men find themselves in a cycle where they increase their water intake but do not feel correspondingly better. They're addressing the symptom but not the underlying mechanism. And here's something I've noticed in my practice. Men who experience this type of cellular dehydration often develop other compensatory behaviors without realizing it. They might start drinking more caffeinated beverages because the temporary stimulation helps them feel more alert, even though caffeine can actually worsen cellular dehydration over time. They might begin consuming more salty snacks because their body is craving the minerals needed for proper cellular function. But processed salt without balancing minerals can further disrupt their electrolyte balance. They might find themselves eating more ice or cold foods because their body is trying to signal its need for better hydration, but temperature alone doesn't address the underlying electrical imbalance. These adaptations might provide temporary relief, but they often make the fundamental problem worse in the long run. The body becomes increasingly dependent on these compensatory mechanisms, while the cellular hydration issue remains unresolved. And this is where the timeline becomes critical. In the early stages, you might notice these symptoms occasionally. Maybe you feel unusually tired after a long day, or your focus isn't quite as sharp during stressful periods. But as the cellular hydration deficit accumulates over months and years, these occasional symptoms become more frequent. What started as mild afternoon fatigue becomes persistent low energy. What began as occasional brain fog becomes chronic difficulty concentrating. Your body's ability to compensate reaches its limits. And at that point, simply drinking more water becomes not just ineffective, but potentially counterproductive. Flooding a system that can't properly utilize water can place additional stress on your kidneys, your cardiovascular system, and your body's mineral balance. It's like trying to fix a clogged drain by adding more water. The problem isn't water volume. The problem is flow. What I find particularly concerning is how this pattern affects men's long-term health trajectory. Poor cellular hydration doesn't just make you feel less energetic today, it can accelerate other age-related changes. When your cells can't maintain proper hydration, they become less efficient at repair and regeneration. Your body's ability to recover from daily stress decreases. Your resistance to inflammation diminishes. Over time, this can contribute to a faster rate of cellular aging, reduced muscle mass maintenance, decreased cognitive sharpness, and increased vulnerability to various health challenges. Now, let me share something I've observed that most men find surprising. The mineral depletion that contributes to cellular dehydration often happens in a specific pattern. Magnesium tends to drop first. This is the mineral responsible for helping your muscles relax after they contract. When magnesium levels decline, everything in your body starts to feel tighter, more tense. Your blood vessels constrict more easily. Your sleep becomes less restorative because your nervous system can't fully relax. Many men notice this as persistent muscle tension, particularly in their neck and shoulders. They might attribute it to stress or poor posture, but it's often their body signaling that it can't regulate muscle relaxation properly due to inadequate cellular hydration. Potassium depletion typically follows. Potassium works in partnership with sodium to regulate fluid movement across cell membranes. When potassium drops, your cells lose their ability to maintain proper internal pressure. This affects everything from your heartbeat rhythm, to your muscle contractions, to your nerve signal transmission. Men often describe this as feeling like their body isn't responding as quickly or as strongly as it used to. Their reflexes feel slower. Their coordination feels slightly off. Their physical performance becomes inconsistent from day to day. Zinc deficiency, while not directly related to hydration, often accompanies these mineral imbalances because the same absorption and regulation mechanisms are involved. Zinc is crucial for testosterone production and immune function. When it drops, men often notice changes in their energy, their recovery, and their overall sense of vitality. Here's what makes this pattern particularly insidious. Each mineral deficiency creates symptoms that can be explained away as normal aging. Muscle tension from low magnesium, reduced physical responsiveness from low potassium, decreased energy and drive from low zinc. But when these deficiencies occur together, they create a compound effect that goes far beyond what you'd expect from simple aging. Your body's systems stop communicating effectively with each other. Your nervous system, your muscular system, your cardiovascular system, your hormonal system. They all rely on proper mineral balance to coordinate their functions. When that balance is disrupted, the whole orchestra starts playing out of tune. And this is where the hydration piece becomes critical. You can try to address these mineral deficiencies through diet or supplements, but if your cellular hydration mechanisms aren't functioning properly, your body can't utilize these minerals effectively anyway. It's like trying to charge a phone with a damaged charging port. You can have the best charger in the world, but if the connection isn't working, the battery won't charge. This is why I've seen men who take multiple mineral supplements but still experience symptoms of mineral deficiency. Their intake might be adequate, but their cellular uptake is compromised. Their cells are receiving the minerals, but can't incorporate them properly because the electrical environment needed for mineral transport isn't functioning optimally. And here's something that concerns me about how this affects men specifically. Men tend to push through discomfort longer than women. They're more likely to attribute physical changes to just getting older, and less likely to seek help until symptoms become significantly disruptive. This means they often live with suboptimal cellular hydration for years before recognizing it as a problem that can be addressed. During those years, their body is constantly working harder to maintain basic functions. Their stress response system is chronically activated at a low level. Their recovery processes are less efficient. This doesn't just affect how they feel day to day, it affects their long-term resilience. Men who maintain better cellular hydration as they age tend to have more stable energy levels, better stress tolerance, more consistent mood regulation, and improved physical performance across multiple decades. Those who don't may find themselves experiencing a more rapid decline in these areas, not because it's inevitable, but because their body's fundamental maintenance systems are operating under chronic stress. The concerning part is how this can create a cycle of declining function. Poor cellular hydration leads to reduced energy and motivation. Reduced energy leads to less physical activity. Less physical activity leads to decreased muscle mass and cardiovascular fitness. These changes further compromise the body's ability to regulate fluid and mineral balance effectively. Eventually, The gap between the body's hydration needs and its hydration capabilities widens to the point where conventional approaches to hydration become inadequate. But here's what gives me hope in my clinical work. The body's cellular hydration mechanisms can often be supported and improved, even later in life. Your cells don't forget how to utilize water properly, they just need the right electrical environment to function optimally. The challenge is that this requires a different approach than simply drinking more water. It requires understanding that hydration is an electrical process, not just a volume process, and it requires recognizing that what worked for hydration in your 20s and 30s may not be sufficient for your 50s and beyond. Your body's needs have evolved. Your hydration strategy needs to evolve with them. This is why I see so many men who are frustrated with their energy levels, their mental clarity, and their physical performance, despite following conventional health advice. They're doing everything they've been told to do, but they're working with outdated information about how hydration actually functions in the aging body. The human body is remarkably adaptive, but adaptation has limits, and when those limits are reached, simply pushing harder with the same approach rarely yields better results. The solution requires understanding the mechanism, not just treating the symptoms. Because ultimately, cellular dehydration isn't just about feeling thirsty. It's about whether your body has the electrical environment it needs to function at its best. And for most men over 50, that electrical environment needs more support than plain water can provide. The body always finds a way to adapt, until it can't. Most men don't realize how long they've been running on cellular dehydration until they understand what proper cellular hydration actually feels like. By then, the adaptation period is often longer than they expected.